We are going to use 1 block of extra firm tofu for this recipe, and if you're using extra firm tofu, I'm going to highly encourage you to give it a good press. So I'm just opening up my package of tofu. I'm going to run to the sink and hope I don't spill any water along the way. And now we can finish opening it up. And you can also use super firm tofu for this recipe. It's whatever you want to use. So I'm going to remove that block of tofu, and then I'm just going to put it right into my tofu press. I will have this tofu press linked down below. You guys have seen me use this before. It's a great little tofu press. So I'm just going to pop the lid on, seal it up, and press it and put it to the side. While we press that, I'm going to cut up 1 sweet potato. I don't mind the skin on my sweet potato, so I'm leaving it. Just make sure to clean it well, or you can peel it. So I'm just cutting it into little slices, and then I'm going to cut those slices into like quarters or 6 pieces as we get into those bigger slices, just so that they're all about the same size, so that way they cook up evenly in the oven. And I'm just popping those into a nice big bowl, and then I have some baby potatoes, and I'm popping that in the bowl. I like the combination of sweet and salty. So as you can see, our tofu is nice and pressed. Look at all that water on the bottom of there. That's so good that we got that out, because it's going to help it cook up in the oven so much better. So I'm popping that lid off, and then we are just going to cut the tofu crosswise into like 8 to 10 cuts, making about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick rectangles. And you can cut this however you want if you want to do cubes, but I like these bigger rectangles for something like this. So now we are going to put this aside, back to our potatoes. So we're drizzling this olive oil on top. This was actually a lemon olive oil that I had got. I'll link it down below. It was really good. Gonna add some salt, black pepper, garlic powder, and then we're gonna add in some fresh rosemary that I chopped up, and the juice of 1/2 of a lemon, and just give this a nice toss. And that's all you have to do. Very easy. Don't throw away this lemon. We're going to use that later in the oven. So just mix this up, and that's all you got to do for the potatoes. Very simple. And if you have other seasonings you like to put on your potatoes, go ahead. So now for our tofu, we are just going to sprinkle one side with some salt, black pepper. Then we're going to add a little bit of garlic powder. Then we're going to add some paprika. I love adding paprika because it adds such a nice color. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of spray oil. I just like it. It's easier to coat the tofu with. I'm only seasoning one side because you'll see in a second. So we're going to pop all those potatoes onto a nice big sheet pan. Then we're going to put the seasoned side down of the tofu so that way we can season the other side a little bit. So to finish this off, we're going to add some lemon slices in there, and that's why I said don't throw away that lemon, because we're going to use it. We're going to add another little drizzle of that lemon olive oil, or regular olive oil is totally fine. And then we're going to add some more fresh rosemary right on top, and we're going to sprinkle it with some extra black pepper and some paprika. I don't do another round of salt until later. That's just my preference. If you want to put salt on right now, go for it. Bake this in the oven at 425 for 20 minutes. And that's it. And it'll already start to like be cooked up so nicely and just smell so good. The house smelled amazing while I was making this. So we're going to take this out of the oven, and then we are going to very carefully flip our tofu and potatoes. This actually wasn't as hot as I thought it was, so you'll see me grabbing with my hands, but be careful. Please don't, like, if it's hot, just be careful. Use a little tongs like I did. So I'm just flipping those around, and then we're going to add on some frozen string beans. Yes, you can add frozen string beans right into the oven, completely frozen, don't worry. Gonna do one final little drizzle of olive oil on top just for those string beans, and we're going back in the oven for another 15 minutes. When it's all done, it should look something like this. You can see the potatoes are nice and roasted up. They're soft. The tofu is brown and crispy, and those string beans are nice and soft now. So we're gonna add our final round of salt. I'm going to add a few sprigs of rosemary just to make it look pretty and just to garnish it. And then I'm going to add some lemon juice. You can add some extra olive oil on top if you want. It's whatever you want to do. And that's really it. I mean, this is a meal that makes itself, and it just looks absolutely gorgeous. Like I think this is a beautiful meal, and I think even for the holidays coming up, this would look beautiful on a table. And you know, you can obviously double this recipe and you can customize it. I have all things to customize on the blog post, things you can do and like that, so definitely check it out. But I just think it looks so gorgeous and festive and fun, and I love how those lemons turn just this beautiful color. So now we can plate it up and enjoy, and that's really all you got to do to make this delicious meal. I'm giving you guys an option to start off. You can use super firm tofu or extra firm tofu for this recipe. I'm going to use extra firm tofu. So to do that, we're going to have to press it. So this is a tofu press. My sister actually got it for me for Christmas. How cute is it? I'll have it linked down below. So you put the tofu in that orange part, and then you spin that top part to create pressure to press the tofu down. So first, let's open up the tofu. Just kind of cut little slits into the package and then run over to the sink with it and spill it out. This is the easiest way I found to open a block of tofu without making a huge mess. Let's take it out, and as you can see, I'm just popping it right in that little compartment. Then we're going to put this top rectangle thing down to create the pressure. The top of the tofu press kind of like clicks into there, and then we just got to click all the sides down. And yeah, there's kind of like a spring system in this, and then we're just going to rotate it, and as you can see, all that water is going to come out as we rotate and press it down and flatten it. If you don't have a tofu press, you can always use like a cast iron skillet with a lot of cans in it as well, and just kind of let the tofu sit. But as you can see, we got a decent amount of water out of that, and we don't want that water in there. We want room for the marinade, and it just like condenses the tofu a little bit. It's a nice thing to do. So now we're going to cut our tofu into crosswise cuts and make just like little rectangles like this. Now let's make our marinade. I'm going to first start by mincing up 3 cloves of garlic. You can also just like really finely chop them, but I like to use the garlic press. It's cute, it's fun, it's there to help me. Then we're gonna add in 3 tablespoons of a silver tequila. I guess you could use a different tequila, not silver, but I don't know, use the silver tequila. Then we're gonna add in the juice of 1.5 limes. So this is extra limey, and oh, I just love anything lime, so good. So once I'm finally done squeezing these limes out, we're gonna add in 1 tablespoon of light olive oil, 2.5 tablespoons of a maple syrup, and then we're just gonna add in some salt, just a little bit, about 1/4 teaspoon, and then some chili powder and paprika. And that's it. Whisk this up, and then you're just going to put your tofu in there and let it marinate for at least 3 to 4 hours. You can also marinate this overnight. You can make it ahead of time, but definitely let it sit. And also make sure to, rotate the tofu around. Be a little gentle with it because some of it can break sometimes. So just be careful with it, but rotate it so, everybody gets an equal chance of sitting in that marinade. And don't be afraid to just take the spoon and kind of drizzle the marinade over top. You just really want the tofu to soak up as much flavor as it can get. So you're going to place this in the fridge until you're ready to use it, at least 3 to 4 hours. In the meantime, let's make our salsa. So I'm going to finally chop up some red onion, and I'm going to place that into a container, and then you can also use white onion if you want as well, doesn't matter. Then I'm going to add in some black beans. These were canned black beans that I just drained and rinsed. Pop those in there, and then I'm going to take some corn. I used frozen corn. You could use fresh corn, you could use canned corn, whatever you like to use for your corn. Give this a little mix. Actually, you really don't need to mix it. I don't know why I did that, but I did it anyway. So then we're going to cut up half of a mango. So just take a really nice sharp knife and make little slits into the mango. Don't go into the skin on the bottom, really, keep it all intact. And then you can take a spoon and just kind of scoop out all those little cubes that you made. Easy, so easy, and this was so perfect on the side. So I'm just mixing it up and breaking up some of those mango pieces, and then we're gonna add in half of a lime, the juice of that, and some tahini. I love tahini. I'm putting it on everything lately. It's so good. And that's it. And then I'm just gonna let that go in the fridge too, and this can sit overnight. You can make this a day ahead. The longer it sits, the more flavors will develop. So just pop that in the fridge until you're ready to eat. So now I'm gonna use this grill that I have from Ninja. You can use a regular grill. You can put these in the oven. You can pan fry these. You can pretty much do whatever you want with them. This grill is so not necessary, but it's really great. So I'm popping them on there, and then I'll flip them halfway through the cooking process so we get those beautiful grill marks. And you can use a George Foreman grill. Don't throw out this marinade. Keep it, because we're gonna make a glaze with it. So pour your marinade into a pot, and then we made a cornstarch slurry, which is just cornstarch mixed with water. Pour that in there and mix it up, and then cook it on a low heat for about 2 to 3 minutes, just until it gets thick and bubbly. Done. And now you have a nice little sauce. And those are just those bits of garlic in there still. So there might be some bits of tofu, but whatever. And then look at our tofu. How beautiful. Those grill marks, the coloring, the glaze, the color of it, just everything looks perfect. So now let's plate it up. I just arranged our tofu in a nice big dish into a little circle. I'm going to fill in that space with the black bean mango corn salsa. Gonna add some of that glaze on top. This wasn't all of it. There's still more on the side, so you can just just keep dipping as you eat because it tastes so good. Add some lime slices if you like, and then some parsley or cilantro. I hate cilantro. It tastes like soap to me. Okay, that's why I'm not using it. Some flaky salt, and you're done. How gorgeous is this? Just please tell me this is not just a perfect summer dish. Summer flavors, bright colors, just and it's so easy to make, literally so easy to make. Okay, you can make it look so fancy on the dish, but the process for making it super easy. Anyone can do this, so you have to try it out. So for this recipe, we're using firm tofu. So as you can see, it's like a medium firmness. You can use medium firm or firm, and we're going to use the whole package. So just open that up. Then we are going to roughly cut the tofu into a bunch of little pieces. I just started it by slicing it in crosswise cuts, and then I just cut those into tiny little pieces. This doesn't have to be specific. This is just to mimic the egg white that would be in the egg salad. So just cut it into these bite-sized pieces. Then I'm just going to put those all in a dish. We're going to set them aside for a minute while we work on the, I don't know, I guess what would be the sauce, the dressing? I don't even know what to call it, but we're going to take chickpeas, some vegan mayo. We're going to add in some nutritional yeast, which is going to give it some umami. We're going to add in the paprika and some turmeric for yellow color. And I added in a little bit of water to start. We're going to add in that whole quarter cup. Pop our top on the blender and just start to blend it up until it's nice and smooth. I wanted to use chickpeas in here because I love chickpeas, but I don't know, they kind of have an eggy-ish feel to me. And I thought they might be good to like help make this like I said, this dressing sauce a little bit more better. I don't know, but I did like it. So we're going to add the tofu into a big bowl, and then we're just going to add that dressing on there. Just blend this until it is completely smooth, okay? You want this to be so smooth. You don't want any texture or grittiness or anything, and just mix it up. And please just don't even try and tell me that doesn't look like egg salad. It looks exactly like egg salad. Then we're going to add in some salt, black pepper to taste, give it a mix. You can add in mustard if you like. I don't really like mustard that much, so I didn't want to use it. I'm going to add in some chopped up chives. You could use scallions. It's just, again, what you like. And that's pretty much it. This is done. You could add in more vegan mayo if you like, if you want it to be creamier, but it was very, very good, and I really liked it with the chickpeas in there. So now let's make a little sandwich. So I'm just taking my bread. I'm gonna add on 2 pieces of butter lettuce and just some nice big scoops of this egg salad, or the vegan egg salad, our fake egg salad. Add some black pepper, salt, and paprika on top, and you are done. Now you have this delicious vegan egg salad. You can use it in wraps, you can use it on a salad, you could make sandwiches with it, you could do whatever you want with it, and I think it's really tasty and delicious, and I love having stuff like this in the fridge for busy days so I can just kind of like have a quick lunch or something, or even for breakfast, scoop it up with some crackers. Of course, we have to have pickles. I love pickles. You need pickles with your sandwiches. So this was just so good, and I'm really excited. I think you guys will really enjoy it if you give it a shot. We're using soft tofu for this, and if you look, it has the most amount of water, so it has the least amount of calories and the least amount of protein. Before we do that, we're going to make our vegan lady fingers. So we're going to combine some chickpea flour and water together to make kind of like a chickpea egg replacer. Definitely go check out the blog post for my notes on egg replacers, chickpea flour, and all this stuff. You're going to whisk it up until it is nice and thick and smooth like this. Put it to the side for a second. Then I'm measuring out our organic cane sugar. Make sure to use organic sugar so that way it is vegan friendly, not potentially processed with bone char. Then add your vegan chickpea egg in there, and you're gonna mix it up until it kind of almost makes like a dough. Just keep mixing and mixing. You'll see the end texture in a second. It kind of looks like, I don't know, Play-Doh, wet sand, whatever you want to call it, but it looks like a dough already. So then we're going to add in some vanilla extract, give that another little mix together. Next up, we're going to add in our all-purpose flour. Before I add it in, I'm just going to take my whisk, run it through, get out any large clumps. You can also sift it, whatever you like to do. Add that into our bowl. Then we're going to add in some baking powder and cornstarch and water. And now I'm going to slowly incorporate more water as we go. So you can see I'm going to start mixing it. Obviously, it's going to be way too dry at first. So then I'll add in a little more water. I'll keep mixing, add a little more water. And you'll notice I'm using my kitchen scale. I really like using the kitchen scale for baking because baking is science and it's very precise. So I highly suggest you use a kitchen scale. Then I'm going to get in there with my hands, nice clean hands, no rings or anything. And we are just going to start kneading our dough together until it looks something like this. I can form it into a ball. It will be slightly sticky and tacky, so don't worry about that, but as you can see, it's manageable. I can move it around. Then we're gonna scoop 1 tablespoon approximately of our dough, and you're gonna take your hands, again, nice clean hands, and you're just gonna roll it between your hands like this to form it kind of into a oblong shape. Is that the right word here? Oblong? I think it is. And then I'm just gonna like round it off, but we're making like a lady finger shape here. And that's pretty much it. As you do this, the dough might start to stick to your hands a little bit, so just wash your hands in between if all of a sudden you're like kind of covered in the dough from this. And these vegan ladyfingers come out really, really good. And I probably should have spaced them out on the pan a little bit more. You'll see after we bake them in a few minutes, they get kind of stuck together, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. So we're gonna bake at 350 Fahrenheit for 14 minutes, pop those in the oven, all done. They're gonna come out, they look something like this, as you can see. Some of them kind of got stuck together, but again, it's just like not a big deal. I'll rip them apart later. Let these cool. Let's work on our cream. So we're taking that soft tofu, and then we're gonna take some vegan cream cheese. I'm actually using the one from Tofu because I really like that one. So we're gonna put everything in the blender. So I drained my soft tofu, adding that in there. Then we're gonna add in about half a cup of vegan cream cheese. Then we're gonna add in some vanilla extract, more organic sugar, and then we're gonna add in your non-dairy milk of choice. This Ripple milk is so good. If you haven't tried it, can't recommend it enough. And that's pretty much it. The cream is very, very easy to make, and you're just gonna blend that until it is nice and smooth. And when you taste this on its own, it might have a slight taste of tofu, but I promise in the whole tiramisu altogether, it doesn't taste like that. Our ladyfingers are all cooled, so as you can see, they're nice and like hardened up. The bottoms get a little bit golden, and they should be pretty easy to rip off. Like they might stick a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal if some of that sticks on the paper, don't worry. And then you can see they're like really easy to break up, just in half. So now we're going to start dunking our ladyfingers in some espresso, or you can use coffee, whatever you like, and just kind of dunk them in there. Be careful with them, they might be a little fragile, and pop them in your pan. I'm using a 9x11 baking dish. If your ladyfinger breaks, do not worry, do not worry. Scoop it out, pop it in there, it doesn't matter. For these little sides that I can't fit a whole ladyfinger in, I'm just gonna cut them into half, into thirds, like whatever I can kind of squeeze in there just to fit, so there's some nice structure in there. And then we're gonna add our cream on top of here, so just pour about half of it right on there, and you can then use like a spoon, a spatula, a knife, whatever, to just evenly distribute that out. And you'll see it's pretty thin right now. It's gonna thicken up when we chill it in the fridge. And then we're just going to layer again. Italians, we love our layers. Lasagna, tiramisu, we like layers. So I had a little espresso left over. I'm just pouring that on top so that way it doesn't get wasted. And then we'll add the rest of our cream on there that we made. Beautiful. Oh, I could just eat this by itself. Spreading it all out again with my spoon just to make sure to cover everything really well. Now, we're testing your patience. Cover this and you leave it alone for the next 8 hours or overnight. If you're really on a time crunch, 5 to 6 hours could work, but the longer this sits, the better it gets. It is now the next day. I let this sit for a full 24 hours. You can see that cream is thickened up. Even some of the ladyfingers absorbs a little bit. We're going to top it with the unsweetened cocoa powder. You can just take like, I'm using a kind of a strainer here just to sift it over top, and that's it. Now we can finally cut into this, and that first piece to get out is a little rough, okay? It's not the best, it doesn't always look the prettiest, but we got it out, we did it, and ooh, beautiful, gorgeous, makes me want to sing because it's so good. I mean, come on, does that not just look And like, I know it's not the most beautiful tiramisu, but you don't want your tiramisu to look pretty. If the tiramisu looks neat and perfect and layered, I literally do not want it. I want it to look like this, because then I know it's good. And also, my non-vegan grandma took a bite and was amazed. So, gets a pass from grandma. We are going to start this off by taking 1 block of super firm tofu or high protein tofu. It's the kind that is vacuum sealed and has not a lot of water in it. And we're going to cut it into thirds. Then from there, you're just going to use your hands to break the tofu into bite-sized chunks, little pieces just like this. Very easy, very simple to do. And then once it's all done, you'll have all your little tofu pieces. I like to cut it up into thirds so you can get more pieces out of the tofu. From there, we are going to place it into a 9x11 baking dish. Just get all your little tofu bites in there. Doesn't have to be fancy or lined up perfectly or anything. Then we're going to add some seasoning. So I have dried parsley, salt, poultry seasoning, black pepper, paprika, and garlic powder. So a lot of good things to make it very tasty. We also have some cornstarch, which is going to help make a nice outer coating on the tofu, and half of a lemon, which is going to add, of course, some acidity and zest. So I'm going to start by sprinkling the tofu pieces with the cornstarch, and then we're also going to add the seasonings on there. And then I'm just going to use my hands and toss to coat all of our little pieces in all the seasonings and the cornstarch. And then I'm going to lay them kind of out flat. Now I'm going to make sure that they have their space. And then I'm just going to squeeze some of the lemon juice over it, half of the lemon. Make sure you don't get any pits on there, because then that won't be good. We don't want to eat pits. Then we're going to add vegan butter on top, and this is going to help make it really just delicious and good. We're gonna bake this at 400 Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. Then we're gonna take it out. We're gonna add a tablespoon of olive oil over the top to add a little extra fat and just kind of help make more of a little bit of a sauce in the bottom of here. I'm gonna scrape my tofu very carefully, just making sure nothing's sticking. Just be gentle with it though. Then we're gonna pop it back in the oven for 450 Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. And this is gonna get it really crispy and really cooked up. And then when it's all done, it's gonna look like this. You can see it is just golden and beautiful from that paprika. Sprinkle some coarse sea salt on top if you like, a little bit of extra black pepper. And that's really it. That's all you have to do. It's all done. Looks so good. And I love this. It really reminded me of the flavors of, like I said, the roasted chicken my mom used to make when I was little. And I just love it. The paprika, vegan butter, and the lemon together just work so well. It is so good. And like I said, I think it's a great weeknight dinner. It's really easy to make. You get a lot of servings out of it. You can serve it with whatever vegetables you like and grains. And I just think it's a really good meal to be able to make, and I think it would even be good for the holidays because it's so simple and it'd be really good. So I think you guys will really enjoy it if you try it. Let's start this off by making our coconut rice. So I'm adding 1 cup of water and then 1 cup of light coconut milk. You can use full fat if you like. This came out a little bit more subtle on the coconut flavor, so full fat would probably have more flavor. And 1 cup of dry white rice. And we are just going to stir that up. And I have the pot on a high heat right now because I want to bring this to a boil. So I gave that a little stir, and then I'm gonna add in some cane sugar, about 1 teaspoon, and half a teaspoon of salt. That's it, easy. I'm just gonna give it a stir to get all those sugars and salt dissolved. And I'm just letting it come to a boil. Once it's boiling, I'm gonna drop the heat down to a very low simmer, cover it, and let it cook for, 20 to 25 minutes until it's nice and fluffy, just like you would regular rice. Onto our tofu. I'm going to use a block of tofu that I actually had frozen. You don't have to use frozen tofu, you can use regular, but I really like using frozen tofu. If you want to learn more about why frozen tofu is great, you can read my blog post on it. So I went to cut the tofu in half. I messed up, obviously. So I cut those thicker strips into 2 more strips. So we have 6 big rectangles. And as you can see, the texture of the tofu is a little spongier, it's a little denser. I really, really like frozen tofu. You should try it if you haven't already. I'm going to coat the tofu in cornstarch. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but it gives a really nice crispy golden outside. So this is all of my tofu rectangles coated in cornstarch, ready to be cooked. My pan isn't big enough, so I had to do 3 at a time. I'm taking about half a tablespoon of sesame oil, spreading that out around the pan, and then I'm just going to add in our tofu rectangles. If you're oil-free, you don't have to cook it in the sesame oil. You can just use a really good nonstick pan. I like to use the sesame oil. It's a little bit, it just helps get it nice and crispy. It's good. So I'm gonna cook it for like 3 to 4 minutes on each side until it's nice and golden and crispy on a medium-low heat. So now I am just going to flip it and be careful because, it's gonna be hot. And see, it gets a little bit golden, a little bit crispier. The texture is a little bit nice on the outside. I really like coating in the cornstarch. I would highly suggest you try it. So just let that cook again for 3 to 4 minutes on that side. You want all the cornstarch to be basically cooked off. So I'm gonna make our glaze now. This is a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. Then we are going to add in some spices, chili powder, garlic powder, red pepper flakes, a little bit of salt. Then we're gonna add in the juice of 1 lime and some water and just mix it up. Very easy to do this. Now I'm gonna go over to my pan, add half of it because we're doing this in 2 batches. And I'm just going to let this cook for about, 5-ish minutes until it gets really thick. You'll see it's really liquidy, it's bubbling, it's gonna goo up. The sugars in the maple syrup are naturally going to caramelize, and you'll see it. See how it's starting to get a little bit gooey here? That's what we're going for. And you can cook the tofu for as long as you want. I did 1 batch like lightly cooked and then another kind of like more burnt and caramelized. Both tasted really great. You can just let it cook for as long as you want to have it just have different textures and flavors. And I just like to kind of spread that like caramelized maple syrup on top to make sure the tofu is really getting all of that flavor. And yeah, it's just gonna look something like this. So you can cook it for longer, or you can remove it like this when it's done. Totally your choice. So now we're going to plate everything up. I'm going to add some of my coconut rice in. And like I said, this is a very subtle coconut rice. You can add in toasted coconut if you like, or a little more sugar. Then I'm gonna add in 3 pieces of my tofu. So here you can see this is the darker, more caramelized tofu. And then I'm gonna add on this peach cucumber salsa. I didn't show you making this, it's very simple. Just cut up a peach, cucumber, a little red onion, and jalapeno if you like, and just mix it up together, and that's it. You can use any fruit really, mango, salsa, nectarine. I said salsa, I meant strawberries. And then I just sprinkled some toasted coconut flakes on there. And later I sprinkled sesame seeds as well. I just didn't show that. And I just placed a few pieces of parsley in there just to make it look extra pretty and fancy. And I also garnished it with some lime. And this is it when it's all done. I love this dish so much. It's so good. It's so perfect for summer. The tofu is incredible. You have to try the tofu. My mom, who doesn't even like tofu, loved it. And I love the texture inside when you cut it. See how it's just a totally different texture when you freeze it? It just is so much better. You guys have to try freezing your tofu.